When the fog rolls in, so does death. One by one, they disappear, only to be found when the mist clears. This is Ravens Hollow's darkest secret. The fog hunter, who is hiding in the mist.
In the quiet, fog-shrouded town of Ravens Hollow, a sinister pattern began to emerge, one that would haunt its residents for years. Every time the dense fog rolled in, another person would vanish without a trace, only for their lifeless body to be found once the mist cleared. This chilling tale, known as the Fog Hunter case, remains one of the most unsettling unsolved mysteries of modern times. The disappearances began slowly, starting with one victim lost to the fog. At first, townspeople assumed it was a tragic accident. Perhaps someone had lost their way in the blinding haze, but as the body count rose, a chilling pattern emerged. The victims came from different walks of life: an accountant, a high school teacher, a local shop owner, and even a drifter passing through. Despite their varied backgrounds, each death had one thing in common: they all vanished under the cover of thick, impenetrable fog. With each new victim, panic gripped the town. Doors were locked, windows were bolted, and streets were deserted whenever the fog descended. But one question haunted everyone: who was the fog hunter? Eyewitnesses reported seeing shadowy figures moving through the mist, but no clear description could be made. The killer seemed to have an almost supernatural ability to blend into the fog, making them nearly invisible. Margaret Hale, a 42-year-old librarian known for her love of classic novels, was one of the first victims. She was found near the town's library clutching a single rose. Investigators were puzzled by the seemingly random choice of the flower. It later emerged that Margaret had once been involved in a heated lawsuit against a local businessman who claimed she had falsified evidence in a critical trial. This lawsuit, however, had been quietly dismissed years ago, an unresolved scandal that few in town remembered. Jake Patterson, a 27-year-old mechanic, was discovered near an abandoned warehouse. Unlike Margaret, he bore signs of a struggle, with bruises suggesting he had tried to defend himself. Jake had been linked to a street racing ring notorious for dangerous stunts that led to a fatal crash. The crash had been covered up, with Jake among those who had tampered with the evidence to protect the ringleader. It seemed that the fog carried the weight of sins long buried. Laura Reed, a 35-year-old teacher, disappeared on her way home from a parent-teacher meeting. Her body was found at the edge of a playground, her face covered with a child's drawing, a haunting image that left investigators unsettled. Years ago, Laura had been a witness in a controversial custody case, but she had given false testimony to protect a friend. The truth of the case was buried with her lies. Daniel White, a drifter passing through town, was found behind a gas station. He had been gagged with a cryptic note pinned to his jacket. The fog reveals all. Daniel had been involved in a bank robbery gone wrong years earlier, but had managed to escape the law. His criminal past was largely unknown to the townspeople, making his death even more mysterious. The police struggled to find any leads. There were no signs of forced entry, no clear motive, and no physical evidence left behind, just eerie silence and the chilling whispers of the fog. The only clues came from a series of cryptic letters sent to the police station, taunting investigators with vague hints about the next victim. One letter read, "The fog hides my sins, and the mist carries their screams." But these letters offered little more than unsettling riddles, deepening the mystery further. As the investigation seemed to reach a dead end, a retired detective named Charles Whitman became obsessed with solving the case. He meticulously pieced together the victims' pasts, discovering a shocking connection. Each victim had been involved in a dark event that had been covered up years before, a conspiracy of lies, deceit, and hidden sins. Years ago, a bridge on the outskirts of Ravens Hollow had collapsed, leading to several fatalities. It was later discovered that the bridge's construction was plagued by corruption. Corners were cut, materials were substandard, and key officials were bribed to approve unsafe designs. The victims of the Fog Hunter had all been connected to this event. Margaret had tampered with evidence against the builders. Jake had hidden information as part of the street racing gang's cover-up. Laura had provided a false alibi for a friend linked to the case, and Daniel had helped launder money that was part of the bribe payments. The town's forgotten sins had come back to haunt it, with the fog hunter seemingly seeking a twisted form of justice. As Whitman uncovered the details, he realized that the fog hunter's motive wasn't just random violence, it was vengeance for the bridge disaster. The victims were chosen not for who they were, but for what they had done. Two suspects emerged as potential fog hunters, each with motives linked to the bridge collapse. Evelyn Gray, the widow of a construction worker who died in the collapse. Evelyn had vowed to make those responsible pay, but there was no direct evidence linking her to the murders. Could she have taken her vengeance into her own hands, using the fog as her cover? Peter Sullivan, a former investigative journalist who had lost his job after attempting to expose the corruption behind the bridge's collapse. Peter had a history of mental health issues and had been seen wandering the streets on foggy nights. Could his obsession with justice have driven him to take lives? The final letter found at Whitman's doorstep read, "The fog never forgets." It left more questions than answers. Was Evelyn the one pulling the strings, or was Peter seeking twisted justice in his own way? The true identity of the fog hunter remains unknown, leaving the residents of Ravens Hollow with unanswered questions and lingering fear. Who do you think the fog hunter could be? Was it Evelyn, driven by loss and revenge, or Peter, consumed by obsession and justice? Share your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales that challenge the boundary between reality and the unknown.